Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and today we continue on with the Signature Arcana Spotlight series after we roll ourselves a d20 and figure out what soundtrack we're doing. Same one. Alright, so let's just make sure we're on the same one. Oh, yeah, no, that's right. Alright, so today we move on from Razor Petals, which I thought I would like more than I did, and I didn't, so eh. What are you gonna do? They can't all be winners. Speaking of which, let's move on to Toxic Bolas. So Toxic Bolas has the distinction of being a spell that not only does pretty decent damage, but it also poisons enemies and does pretty decent damage all on its own. 35 is no amount to scoff at. So, probably very unsurprisingly, we're doing a power build today. And just that little 10% takes it from 35 to 38. Now, I've gone on record before as saying that poison is not the greatest status effect in the world just because it ticks up too slowly. On the other hand, we can use it with something like the Hunter's Stiletto and get a bunch of extra damage out of it. Which is what we're going to be doing today. Now, admittedly, the poison does not affect Earth-based mooks, so if we're going to do this, we're going to need the ability to add another status effect. And pound for pound, I think slow is the right option, because it also lasts a little while. We just need to find something that's good to add slow. Does Gust Volley add slow? Not as far as I can tell. Mock Stunner, well, it slows enemies, but it doesn't add the status effect. So while I'm doing this, allow me to, of course, remind you that. Remind you of what? What was I going to remind you of? Alright, this is what happens when I just go off the cuff, which is what I normally do. But clearly I had nothing to remind me of what I was going to talk about, so here we are just being nice and awkward right now. But, oh yeah, allow me to remind you of the idea that not all signatures need to be measured necessarily by how much damage they do, but, you know, on other more tangible factors, like the amount of crowd control they do, or, you know, things like that. Now, this particular arcana is an interesting one because, yeah, it does crowd control just fine. And by the way, what you were noticing with how I was holding it before releasing it, that does not increase its damage at all. It's just there to allow you to aim. And the signature is that, which inflicts a much faster acting deadly poison. Also lasts a good little while, so you know, it does pretty decent damage overall, but the reason why I brought up the caveat just a moment ago is because this arcana is going to do the same, essentially the same amount of damage to a target no matter what. And actually, in order to be sure of that, why don't I test something out? Alright, 173. Now if I point blank this and try to shotgun the big guy with multiple bolas... yeah, you don't really get much extra. Like, if anything, that was just another tick of poison that got me up to 178. So, that is something to keep in mind, is this does the exact same amount of damage, essentially, no matter how you slice it. So, it ends up... it just kind of ends up creating this, essentially, big bubble wave, like crescent of bolas and poison, but none of those can overlap. Like if the enemy gets hit by one, then that's all they get hit by. So whereas the effect is strong and good at clearing crowds, it's not great against bosses, like, at all. And I wanted to bring that up because I want you to understand that I do not have any sort of disdain against this arcana. It's just very clearly crowd control first, damage second. Alright, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, we've got ourselves our setup. Let's go ahead and get into the run itself. I, of course, hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. I hope you're not in trouble with anyone, that all of your debts are paid and your consciences are clear. That's probably not the case, but you know what? A boy can dream, can't he? There it is. Now, I figure that because of the nature of the run, we're going to want to start with Atlas, because anyone else can be affected by poison, aside from Sura, of course. So, as you can see, the capturing effect works just fine even on Earth-based enemies that completely resist the poison. And because you're starting with it enhanced, it pierces through enemies. And fortunately, the enhanced bolas do a good amount of damage all on their own. They just don't have overlapping hitboxes. Oh, beautiful. Also beautiful. So, in all reality, I probably could have done this with the Venture Robe, because the bolas will definitely ensure that very few things even get close to me. But I figured, yeah, let's play it safe. A move that, if I'm going to be completely honest, if you're going to use Toxic Bolas, just use Venture. You want to be able to control the crowd as much as you can using your bolas. So that cooldown reduction that you get from the Venture Robe ends up being very helpful. Okay, well we can power that up. I wish I could power up Bouncing Blaze, but that's what I get for assuming that the game is going to, for once, be nice to me. Kindness is a luxury that I cannot be afforded. Yes, I win so many runs that the game is like, be nice to you. Pfft. The hell do you think you are? Oh. Well, I feel silly. Well, you know I want that. Alright, eastward bound. We're going to New York City looking for the red portal vendor. Hey, I just noticed something. Did Dragon Blast get changed? Because I thought it started with 2 dragons, not 1. Not exactly what I was hoping for, but whatever. I'll grab it. It actually has a lot of really good defensive use cases. Okay, yeah. That looks about reasonable. Alright, well, all of that aside, as you can see, with Toxic Bolas, it's very possible to bottleneck huge groups of enemies into a narrow hallway, stun and poison, well, no, bind and poison them all, and then just dash face first into a boulder. Perfect. Exactly what I meant to say. No, but it's very easy to keep enemies off your nuts. But it also contributes heavily into me saying that this is definitely an arcana that's more so there for room clearing than for room clearing and moment-to-moment combat are the same thing. Hold on while I reset my brain. Power cycle. Yeah, it's great for moment-to-moment room clearing, not great for bosses. Ow. How dare you. And also, because the poison causes flinching, you can interrupt some enemies from their more annoying attacks. So, on those merits alone, Toxic Bolas is great against regular enemies. And if that's where you have most of your trouble, then yeah, I can absolutely see Toxic Bolas being a giant win for you. On the other hand, if you're looking for something that's going to be more effective against bosses, you might have to look for something else. But even against bosses, this actually has a good use case because the spell itself has a decent high base damage. So if you end up having yourself a pretty good damage, like just big attack power run, otherwise known as a good bonk build, then you should be okay. I'm just gonna give that... Well, no, I'm gonna hold on to it in case the... almost forgot to complete that sentence. God, my brain feels like it's working overtime, but it's not. God damn it, I'm playing Wizard of Legend. But no, I'm holding on to it in case I run into the adorable Mimic. And for those of you who have noticed that I have a huge problem with stuttering, you are completely correct. I have an unfortunate speech impediment that I don't know how to essentially cure. If there even is a cure for such a thing. No, thank you. And then, of course, there's the obvious bonus of, because it's a projectile, it clashes with enemy projectiles, and the piercing effect allows it to go right through them. Again, it acquires the piercing effect because of being enhanced. Hello. Well, we don't turn down good candy around these parts. I don't know how much you guys like cinnamon dots, but they've always been an outlier to me as far as candy is concerned. It's like, yeah, they say cinnamon, but they clearly mean just hot. I don't know about you guys, but I never thought of cinnamon necessarily as spicy. I always considered it just, cinnamon. And yeah, there is a spice component to it, but... Is it? I don't think that's the only thing that you should think of when it comes to cinnamon, because there's also kind of a sweet component. It's a little bit spicy. It's like, what, 2 parts spicy, or 1 part spicy, 2 parts sweet, all parts cinnamon, and it's delicious. So how come Red Hots claim to be cinnamon when they're really just fire personified? Can anyone answer that question for me? Or have we completely forgotten what the hell cinnamon is? Even better question, am I the only one that actually cares about this? Like, seriously, I get more uncomfortable eating Red Hots than I do eating jalapenos nowadays. I know there's gonna be a subset of you out there who are going, jalapenos? Come on, Darkseid, be a man, eat that Carolina Reaper, you bastard. To which I say, no thank you, I have aspirations for the rest of my life. And I imagine there's another subset of you that are going, even jalapenos are a bit much for me. Can I have a poblano, please? To which I would say, yes, gladly, here you are. Nice. Alright, I don't think there's anything else I really need off of this floor. Except for I do like the Earthquake Axe. My question is, do it yet? Yeah, I'm taking it. There's nothing to question here. Just take it and be happy that it's there. In case you're wondering why I threw that when the battle was already won, you know, it never hurts to dead check things. That's really all there is to that. Now, let's get back on topic here. I've made it pretty well known that I'm not the biggest fan of Toxic Bolas, just because I'm not the biggest fan of a signature spell that really doesn't do much against bosses. But I think that might be a bit narrow-sighted to say. And when I say narrow-sighted, I mean short-sighted. And even then, you could look at what I said and go, Dark Sage, do you mean narrow-minded? And I would say, you know what? Shut up. Who do you think you are? Stop correcting me. But yes, I do mean narrow-minded. Oh, that was too early. Because if you can super easily clear out rooms like I'm clearing them out, then you've got plenty of health and resources left for taking on bosses. So even though I have my preference of liking signature casts that are, you know, very strong against bosses, that's mostly because I come from the mindset of, you know, the better I can do against a boss, the better my build is doing in general. So I like to see those big damage numbers. Or, in my case, I just like to see a lot of damage numbers. But looking at it from another point of view, it is perfectly respectable to have a build that just spanks regular rooms and leaves you room to figure out for yourself how you want to deal with bosses. Not complaining about having 3 out of the 5 items in the Painter's Tote. That is really nice. Alright, is there anything else? Oh wait, I didn't even think about that. Why did I skip that over earlier? And we'll grab that just because, you know, having one type of enemy, or in this case 2 types of enemies being essentially neutered, is just a good idea. And there we go. Also, with how easy it is to drop deadly poison on a boss by hitting them in between one of their attack patterns, it's just consistent damage. On top of the bolas themselves just being really good damage-wise. Like, even when you're not getting a proc from the fiery paintbrush. So this is... Now comes the time where I have to admit myself into the hospital for bad grammar. Yes. But I have to admit to myself that I might have been wrong about Toxic Bolas. Toxic Bolas seems like it kind of has a little of everything. And because it starts enhanced, you immediately get the enemy piercing effect. Which, of course, because it's a projectile, means that you get the projectile piercing effect, and it tramples over enemy projectiles. That spread is perfect for clearing runes. And it's hard to ignore a synergy with the Hunter's Stiletto, which just gives it, what is it, a free 15-20% damage boost on subsequent combos? 20% damage on subsequent attack follow-ups, like, that is no small amount. So, one of your more obvious combos might be to use the bolas to hold a group of enemies still, and then hit them with Dragonfall or Crashing Meteor with a nice 20% boost. This, of course, does not affect enemies that don't get hit by the status, like, you know, Stone Golems. They won't get hit by the status, neither will Sura or Atlas. And, of course, Earth Mobs. And that's why I opted to bring Dragon Blast with me, because I wanted to make sure I had another status effect that I could lay. Because if I'm going to show off a Hunter Stiletto build, I want to make sure that I've got all my bases covered. Sylvan Help. Lots of Sylvan Help. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this is the most fun. I love having Sylvan followers. Yeah, Dark Sage, we know that already. Tell me something we don't know. You know what? I didn't need that anyway. Alright. Ow. How dare you? Acting like it's your place to do things like that to me. Alright. Let's go down here and grab our free health orb. Okay, I just realized that it doesn't necessarily pierce through projectiles, it just has... It looks like it pierces through, like, a few projectiles, and it doesn't pierce through all of them like Dragon Cleaver? I've been playing too much Elden Ring. Flame Cleaver. You bastard! And he had the top hat in stock, too. Or not the top hat, but the wand. Oh my goodness. You know what, though? That's not bad, because I think Mercenary's Dagger actually adds on an extra 5% damage that the Magician's outfit doesn't. So, you know what? Even though I feel silly for this, I'm still calling that a win. Now watch me see the magic wand again here and then feel silly for passing it up again. Okay, nothing here I want, but nice to see. So I think this is now the second time that I've changed my mind on a signature arcana in the earth elements. And those of you who have been around for a while will understand that that's part of the reason why I like doing these arcana spotlight videos, because sometimes you discover something, or learn something that you didn't know before, or you experiment with something and just flat out change your mind. And that's what's going on here, is I'm just plain changing my mind. I completely went into Toxic Bolas thinking that I was just gonna be like, whatever, you know why I don't like this one, let's move on. But no, I think this one ends up being one hell of a gem when you get right down to it. I think the idea that it also drops an enhanced version of poison really helps. It's like, you've all heard my complaints about poison, but you're not using regular poison when you're hitting them with the signature cast of Toxic Bolas. You're hitting them with essentially some sort of like super syphilis. Or if you're like me and you've been playing Elden Ring for a long time, you would just say that it's the Scarlet Rot and move on. Oh, hold on. So there is the possibility for a really nice relic to come out of talking to Dr. Song. So let's go ahead and grab something to donate to her practice. You know what? No. I can't do that because I've got this to worry about. I don't want to run low on money. Yeah, you know what? I'm good. I normally am quick to donate to Dr. Song, but right now, I think I'm happy with what I have. Even though, if I'm being honest, I don't need this anymore, and I don't need the elf ears. Okay, so I probably could have donated to Dr. Song. You know what? Shut up. Once again, though, I think being concerned about holding on to the damage bonus from Mercenary's Dagger is worth it. So, yes, there are things I could have gotten from Dr. Song that would definitely be worth it. But when it's not a guarantee and just a chance, and I have something already that's getting the job done, sometimes it's better just to err on the side of safety. That was a beautiful counter-rogue fight. Like, I can't even complain. That was just great. Alright, and once again, because I know Sura can't be hit by status effects, I mean, yeah, I could grab the Tesla coil, but I would only do that if I was going into an endless run. And no, I'm not doing an endless run. Not this time. No, this is talking about Toxic Bolas, and Toxic Bolas is actually better than way better than I gave it credit for. See, this is what happens when you leave a bad first impression on someone. They just go, okay, well, that sucks, moving on. And there we go. Nice, easy win. Well, in conclusion, I will say that Toxic Bolas is one of those arcana that actually quite surprised me. I remember when the game first came out and Toxic Bolas was just sorta it was okay, it wasn't anything special. And that's judging highly off of the unenhanced version that would only ever hit one enemy at a time. It's the same reason why I'm not a big fan of Ball Lightning. That the enhanced version is really good at keeping enemies where they belong, which is the fuck over there. And then it does good damage, and then the signature version just does all of that in a shotgun spread. You know, dealing with mobs efficiently gives you more resources to deal with bosses, and even against bosses, it still does good damage. Let's be fair, it's not going to do as much damage as other signatures against bosses, and that was my big thing, is that it didn't do like gigantic multi-hundred damage numbers against bosses, but it's still fine. It's a ranged option. But the real power comes in how easily you can handle rooms. Like, especially if you're on retro floor plan, having a much easier way to handle rooms really makes bosses less of a hassle once you get their attack patterns down. Like, the rooms become more difficult than the bosses once you know their patterns, and Toxic Bolas is really a good way to remind yourself that just because this isn't the greatest option against bosses doesn't mean that it's not a strong option. So, yeah, I think I've officially changed my mind on Toxic Bolas. Not necessarily the poison status effect, but definitely Toxic Bolas. Like, I'm actually quite happy with this experimentation. Like, this and Solid Tomahawk actually really blew away my expectations. So, hey, if there's anything that I've picked up, it's the ones that I thought were going to be really bad ended up being really good, and the one that I personally liked ended up being kind of bad. Go figure, but hey, that's all I've got for you today. So guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your support and you coming to spend your free time here with me today. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and you take care, everybody.